like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot of pieces that I just can't understand, but I don't know, the Marines seem like it's, just any Tuesday. The comm guy doesn't have comms, that's fine. Um, but then when Colin hit the water, they couldn't find him because he wasn't in the landing zone. He wasn't where he was supposed to be. And then my understanding is that the people in the helicopter never notified the ground support personnel that they were coming in from the opposite direction. So they were looking for him somewhere else. They had some rescue boats in the water, and one of the rescue boats, the engine wasn't working. The second rescue boat took in one of the guy's parachutes in the water, so that wasn't working. So it was like everything that could have gone wrong that day went wrong for Colin. He never had a chance. He never had a chance to, you know, and that's hard for me. The Marines make, I was proud of Colin because he would always say how, well, we're better than everybody else. We do more with less equipment. Like, that's just really dumb. It's just really dumb. Like, we're expecting them to go in and do these jobs, and we're not giving them the equipment that they should have. We have an elite group of jumpers. Why don't they have the best equipment? And on that jump, they weren't wearing, it's their like their GPS tracking, their somewhere discs is what it's called. I think that's what it's called. Um, or somewhere pucks is what it was called. So they didn't have those on. It was the first time they had jumped and weren't wearing them because it wasn't issued by the battalion for deployment. But typically they would wear them. But if Colin would have had it on, they would have been able to find him a lot faster. So his teammate, his dear friend, he was the one that found him. He also landed in the water, and there were 3 little coves along the shoreline. And so his friend was in the furthest one, Colin was in the middle, and then the assistant jump master was in the first cove. And so the third guy, um, he got himself into shore, and he was looking for Colin. He swam out to the area that he thought Colin went down in, because Colin went down first, and he didn't see him. So he swam back to shore, and then I guess it was about 300 yards. And when he was on shore, that's when he saw Colin's beacon coming off, as they wear some chem lights or something. And so then he was able to swim out again and get Colin and bring him back in.
And where exactly was this?
It was in North Carolina.
This is in North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah.
And where was he preparing to deploy to?
Well, to a ship. He was on the New York.
Okay.
So they ended up spending time in Greece, but when he was deploying, like, we had no idea where he was going.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know there's, a lot of it is a blur, and a lot of it is things that we remember from stories of other people or pictures that we saw that kind of bring us back in. But with the best of your memory, can you give me kind of a recap of the days following, as far as after the knock? What do you remember was the next steps?
So the night Colin died was the night that the new Taylor Swift album was released. So I stayed up all night waiting to hear her new album. And then I went to work. After we got the call, my biggest thing was I just wanted to see Colin. And so I had called the hospital that he was at, and they said, "Yep, you'll be able to see him." I got in the car. I think, within 2 hours, I was in the car driving to North Carolina because I needed to see Colin. I needed to know that they got this right, because it just didn't seem like, how in the world could this happen? And, the Keiko that came to deliver the news, he had no information. So, I drove to North Carolina. It was about 9-hour drive for me. And I don't know how I got there, because I usually, I drive 30 minutes and I'm tired and, like, I don't like to drive. But my daughter-in-law was up there, and I thought, how on earth can we plan a funeral like separately? I didn't, that's not something that I wanted to do on FaceTime. And I needed to be with her, before, when we said our goodbyes to Colin. His biggest concern was, since she was newly pregnant, that she was going to have to do a lot of things herself. They were planning on buying a house, and he was worried about her having to move everything. And I told him, I was like, no, don't worry about her. We'll help her. We'll take care of her, like whatever she needs. And she has a great supportive family too. But I just knew I needed to be there with her to honor him and also to be able to see him. So I got there. It was pretty late that night. And then I just remember we were all trying to sleep. Her family had arrived in, and we were all trying to sleep in their little one-bedroom apartment. And, there's air mattress everywhere. And I don't know. It was just really hard to be in that space. But, every day they kept telling me that I would be able to see Colin. And then another Keiko was involved too. And he was like, well, they're just not prepared for that at the hospital. It's not a good place. I don't know why they would have told you that, but you won't be able to see him. And like, that was really hard for me, because as somebody had told me, well, ma'am, his uniform isn't squared away. And I thought, well, I don't want to see him in his uniform anyway. Like, that is the least of my concerns. Like, I never wanted to see a uniform ever again. But after a couple of days, once he was brought back from, he was like up in northern North Carolina. When he was brought back, and at the funeral home did let us go and see him. So, and I was able to help get him dressed. And um, we put him in clothes that he would have loved. So
Um, so once you finally got to see him, getting all the funeral plans and all that kind of stuff together, I know it puts a lot onto his wife. I'm sure you
yeah.
had a lot of pressure on you as well. Um, did you feel like you had a lot of community support at that same time? Did you guys get that like community uplifting?
We did. At first it was really hard because there were several like fake GoFundMe's that were set up. And
Really?
yes,
That is
yes,
absolutely absurd.
yes. And so we decided as a family, like, none of us were ready. The media was interested too. And we had decided as a family that we weren't ready. We didn't know what happened to him. So we couldn't even talk about that. And it was just so overwhelming. So we decided as a family that none of us were going to be speaking to media. And like, we had to quickly designate like a point person that said, like, okay, no money, like the family is not asking for any money or anything, um, because it just got really out of control really fast. So we stayed in North Carolina, and the rest of my family joined me after a couple of days, um, because the Marine Corps wanted to have a service there for him. So he died on a Thursday, and so the following Thursday they had a service for him, and it was beautiful and terrible. And um, yeah, I don't know how you prepare for that.